Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody, to Real Talk with Mary Grace. It's Friday, the 28th of May, 2021. Hard to believe. Time flies here. How's everybody doing? Let's see who's here. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Good to see the people. Okay, it looks like we're live on YouTube. That's good because people have been telling me that it's going very slow. So that's good. Good to see everybody. Hey, happy Friday. Barley says hello. He's napping. Napping. Okay. And I hope he stays that way because I closed the door to the other room and I don't want him to wake up and start trying to get in the other room. Every now and then that will happen and then he'll start crying. Okay, here we go. If you're new here, Barley is the cat and he pretty much runs the house. So, hey, Millie. All right, so we've got moderators here. We've got people on Facebook. We've got people on we've got people on Facebook. We've got people on YouTube. We're on Cloud Hub channel 111. I'm at marygracemedia.com. And I'm also on Instagram at Mary Grace Media. I'm not live there right now, but I do want everybody to follow that channel because there's going to be more coming on that channel. It may take a while, but just be patient and stay there and follow that Instagram channel. You won't regret it. All right. Now, how's everybody doing? I know that you missed me yesterday. It's the schedule, like I said, has been a little bit iffy because of some things that have been going on. And so I'm doing my best to stick to a regular schedule, and I'll try to let you know ahead of time if things change. So hello to everybody. Hello to everybody. Now, let me see. What should I start with? What do you want me to start with today? Does everybody feel the energy? Do you feel like things are happening? Do you feel like things are changing? Do you feel like momentum is going in our direction? Does it feel like that to you? It feels like it to me. That's how I feel. I think that I think things are happening. And if you've noticed, Real 45 is just saying some very interesting things. I think that, before I forget, if you haven't been here in a while, we're talking in code. So we're the new Navajo code talkers. We are using code words. So Real 45 is our guy, and Faker 46 is the senile old dude. So, yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to call him. And then we have the sociopath midget with the gravelly voice, who's most likely not going to be with us very long. And who else? I think that's it for now. I might have to come up with some other code names, but I hope you get the point. And so I'm asking everybody to refrain from using the actual name of those people in the chat because I've noticed that the people over at Socialist Media don't like it when we use those names, and they actively search for it and they censor it. And so we're not going to give them any satisfaction. So if you're on Facebook, make sure you tag your friends, and then also make sure that you share this into groups. Make sure you share it into groups. And then what was the other thing I wanted you to do? Oh, take this link. And wherever you are, drop the link into Telegram chats that you belong to, if you're allowed to do that. And then also make sure that if you're liking, giving the thumbs up on YouTube, and then also commenting on YouTube, come back to YouTube after the fact and leave a comment. That's great when you do that. Same thing on Facebook. And then also make sure you hit the subscribe and the bell on YouTube. Did I miss anything? Okay. I don't know that we have many people live today because it's a Friday going into a holiday weekend, but that's okay because I think a lot of you are watching on replay, and so I welcome all of the replay viewers. It is very nice. I see that you've been here and that you've watched the replay, And so I do appreciate that. It's not unnoticed that you came back and watched the replay. So thank you. Okay. Oh, spaces in the links. That's the other thing. If you post a link, which is it's preferable if you don't, but break it up by writing out the .com. So Mary Grace Media space dot space com. Write it out because again, they're greedy little trolls and they don't like links that take people away from their platform. So we'll play that game for now. Okay. All right. Now, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about the fact that that people are dying in hospitals now because they didn't go to the doctor for over a year, and that hospitals are crowded because of that? Or do you want to talk about our friend George? Or do you want to talk about some other little tidbits? What do you want to talk about? What do you want me to start with? Delia's here. She's not at the audit. She had to call out sick. Okay. Hope you feel better. Take some of our favorite remedies that start with a Q and a Z. All right, we want to talk about George. So George surprised us the other night with a little chat, with a little live chat on YouTube. And that was pretty cool. All right, what's happening here? I might have to look at it on my phone. George and maybe tidbits. I think you're going to want to hear this stuff about hospitals. It's very interesting. I got some very interesting information from a friend. All right. So, okay, George popped on Wednesday night and said, this is what they said. Short 30-minute live chat to reassure you all that all is well and that we are going to be made very happy very soon. First of all, tell me give me a show of hands, who was on the George chat on, was it Wednesday night? The days get mixed up for me. Who was on the George chat on Wednesday night? While I'm waiting for you to raise your hands, I want to remind you that this is a great weekend to buy superfoods because we are having some buy one, get one specials. And so if you buy our 30-day reset transformation pack, you're actually going to get 2 freebies with that. That's amazing. And then some of your favorite products that you like are buy 3, get 1, buy 2, get 1, things like that. So if you've been a Superfoods customer in the past, or your current one, make sure you go check it out and purchase superfoods this weekend. If you need a voucher, if you need a promo code from me to save over $100 off of your order, that is going to be at info@marygracemedia.com. Make sure you write to me. These specials are going through Monday, but don't wait. Make sure you write to me so that you can get this promo code, info@marygracemedia.com. I have a lot of superfoods users here, so please drop some information in the chat and tell people how amazing the superfoods are. You're not going to want to miss this. It's just incredible, especially going into the summer. And if you live a busy lifestyle, it's amazing. Okay, I'll come back to that in a minute. Now, let me get to the George chat. Okay. Now, they said this in all caps. Our best days are still to come. Our best days are still to come. Promise. All caps. And then they put F ... is a fraud. And do they have t-shirts with that on it? Roger said he experienced hospital crowding last month. Yeah, we'll come back to that, Roger. Very interesting. All right. Now, another comment on George. If you don't believe anymore, just remember that you believed once before. And this is what they quote: "I will never let you down." Remember when he said that? And that wasn't the short little sociopath who said that. Okay. And then they said, how much longer can Jen P handle the press briefings? She'll go before her announced date. Did she announce that she was leaving? I must have missed that because I never watch her. Would you guys wear that shirt that says, what's his name is a fraud? Who would wear the shirt? I think it'd be a good shirt. That would red pill a lot of people. All right. Um, this is interesting. People are really scrambling right now in DC. People are really scrambling right now in DC. She won't last a year. And then this is in all caps. The panic in DC is very, very real. Who is FF? Who is F? He's the short little sociopath with a gravelly voice that said 2.2 million people would die. We can't use his name. Delete, 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 delete. We're not typing his name in the chat, please. It messes with my it brings out the censors. We can't use his name. You might think I'm kidding, but I'm not. So if you don't mind, MG, if you can adjust the spelling or delete it, that would be great. Okay. So all right. And this is what George says in all caps. All they care about now is saving, if possible, themselves. All they care about now is saving impossible themselves, if possible, themselves. I would totally wear that shirt too. Okay, and then they say more to be said via rally/rallies, but expect another YouTube purge for hosting. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that, the part about the purge. But anyway, moving on. First location and date will be announced before end of month. First location and date will be announced before end of month. Okay. Can you delete that comment? The person that wrote that name? I would appreciate it. Okay. I don't have an option to delete it from here, but I would like it if you delete it. All right. And then they said God is in control. And then they said, yes, rally equals revelations / huge news. Rally equals revelations / huge news. Something is coming, people. Okay. And then they said it again. You know who is a big fraud. The world is watching. They're not talking about the midget sociopath here. They're talking about Faker 46 is a big fraud. The world is watching. And then in all caps, you have every reason to be excited. You have every reason to be excited. Yeah. Hold on a second. I want to see this comment. Rachel on YouTube says, I'm going to pop this comment up there for you guys to see. Dr. Death's name is on over 1,800 patents for various vaccines and therapeutics, not uncommon for a doctor. However, it is a conflict of interest is that if the doctor has influences over the FDA. You see that? Okay. Very interesting. Now, let me put my caption back. Okay. That was interesting, huh? Okay. So what else have we got here? Faker 46 is going down, down, down. I haven't given up either. Okay. And then this is fun. They said, new way to watch the rallies. New way to watch the rallies. MSM, who have been literally dying in the ratings, will have no option but to stream the rallies in full. And this is something interesting because I'm thinking about this. They're saying they will have no option. Now, there's two ways that you can take this. One is that you can say that it's because their ratings are low, they're going to go ahead and stream them. But there's another way to look at this, and this is something that I've been thinking about for quite a while. And that is that I have a feeling that as the truth comes out, that they will have no choice but to stream the rallies because they will be told that they have to. And why do I think that? This is something that I've been wondering about, and it is this. It is that if you go back and look at the executive order that was signed by Real 45 in September of 2018, I believe it was September 12th, 2018, that executive order has to do with seizing the assets of persons or entities that are complicit and guilty in stealing elections. And so when people think of assets, they usually think of things like jewelry or money or things like that, sometimes real estate. But, a business is also an asset. A social media platform is an asset. A TV station network is an asset. Think about that. And this is something that I've brought up before. Those of you who have been following me have heard me mention that before. What if those assets are put into the hands of white hats and those people and networks are forced to broadcast the truth? And what if those social media platforms are forced to stop the censorship? And I was thinking about this too, because when Real 45 was doing his interview with Chanel, I believe, no, it wasn't with Chanel, it was with, I think, Greg Kelly from Newsmax. Yeah, Crimes Against Humanity as well, Millie. But there was, he was talking about this. Do you remember when he was talking about the platform? Was it Chanel that asked him about whether he was going to start his own platform and what that would look like? All right. So he said something interesting to me, which is that that it would be almost impossible to start a platform that would be able to handle the traffic from even 100 million users, which is, I mean, his base. Because don't forget that his base, if you think about the numbers that he had on Twitter and Facebook, Pat, I'm not sure he is starting his own platform. Track with me here for just a minute, okay? If you think about the numbers that we were allowed to see on his Twitter and Facebook, the real number of followers that he had was suppressed. I have no doubt about that. But also, if you think about how many supporters he has in North America, that doesn't include the rest of the world. We have a population of over 330 million. So think about this. What if the true number of people who would follow Real 45 numbers over 100 million? What he was saying to the interviewer, I believe it was Chanel, was that there really isn't anything that they could build right now that could accommodate that. And if you saw what happened with these alternative platforms when everybody got purged from Twitter and Facebook in January, you understand what I mean. They crashed. It took months for Gab to get operational. That's what I'm saying. And so if you think about, there are two platforms in existence that can already handle the volume of traffic and that already have the server capacity to do that. Which ones are they? Think about that. Maybe three if you count Instagram. But I want you to think about that, and I want you to think about what he was saying. When he said that he has a website and he said that they're thinking about the capacity, he's not a quitter. He's not a negative person. So he wasn't saying it can't be done. I believe that he was alluding to the fact that if he was going to launch his own platform, it wouldn't necessarily be a new one. Does that make sense? Because I think that people are assuming that he's creating a new platform from scratch. Launching a new platform doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to do it using brand new infrastructure. Because if we're seizing their assets, if we're seizing assets from these people, then wouldn't it make sense that we would have control over them and that they could be retooled and rebranded? Okay. So this is just my thinking. I don't have intel on this, but as you know, sometimes I get intel from Holy Spirit. And so this has been my thinking for a long time, which is that executive order is still there. And isn't it interesting that Faker 46 has never reversed those extremely significant and powerful executive orders? He's done a lot of stupid and wicked things, but he hasn't touched those. Why is that? Okay. Somebody said, is he going to take over the regular news? That's part of my theory, is that, and based on what George says here, based on what George says, is he says they've been literally dying in the ratings. They'll have no option but to stream the rallies in full. So, and then they alluded to the fact that it said, did you see 45's quote earlier in the week regarding platform/website? Again, I'm telling you, he said, in short, Real 45 said his platform is really just a place where he gets his statements out. He didn't say, he was very clear to say, this is not where I'm inviting everybody else to take part and post. He made the distinction. And so people have been thinking that that Real 45's platform is going to be over there on that website. That is what I think that he's signaling to us, that we're not going to have to wait for something to be built. And then the other thing that comes into play here is that Pascal was on an interview a couple of weeks ago talking about the fact that they've been working on a project for about the past 3 years. And so let's do the math. So 2018, September 2018, October, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2020. So just under 3 years is when that executive order was put out. And then Pascal said that they have something they've been working on for about 3 years. I'm just pulling some threads and testing to see if they'll come together in a tapestry that could be a platform or platforms that will enable him to get unfiltered news out to the people, because it has to get out to the world as well. And so, yes, it's awesome that we have Mike Lindell's platform. Yes, it's great that we have, some other alternative platforms, Telegram. But the truth of the matter is, television is not evil. It's actually a good medium. And so why would we reinvent the wheel if we actually have the capability of seizing the assets of those entities and individuals that conspired really to commit treason? That's what they did. So it's just something to think about. Okay. And Scott Smith says, when we learn to hear Holy Spirit, he will make us look like a genius. Yeah, that's what's happening right here, guys. The genius is just pouring out. So, but just think about it. Think about how the possibilities there. So, and think about President Trump too. He's extremely, I just said, Real 45. Think about him. He's extremely pragmatic. He's not going to build something from scratch if he can get something that's already there and refurbish it and turn it around for his purposes. Look at the embassy in Jerusalem. Do you remember that? He was given a quote for, hundreds of millions of dollars to build an embassy from scratch. And then he said, can you find a building that already exists and remodel it? Do you remember that? And then they found him a building, and he did it for a fraction of the cost. This is how he thinks. He's not going to skimp on the details. He goes all in terms of quality, but he's not going to throw money away either. He's going to do the most pragmatic thing. Remember, he's Scottish. They're very thrifty, and so that's a factor. And so I think that if you put all of those, if you think of all of those things, um, uh, all those factors, I think it makes sense that he might actually be, doing a makeover. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe we'll see in real time. Maybe we'll have a new reality show that, taking back the MSM. Um, yeah, he refurbished the post office building. That building is the hotel in Washington D.C. That's actually a national landmark. And so think about it. Okay, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. And so, you have all of that infrastructure in place, and then you just repurpose it. I mean, he's the original thrifter, right? Upcycle. He's just upcycling buildings and entire networks. Some of us upcycle, old shutters and make them into furniture. He's upcycling networks and buildings. I'm just saying. Okay. Um, that's my take on it. And here's a meme that I thought was really good. What was he saying about airplane refurbishment? So there. Okay. He was saying something about that plane being refurbished, right? That was the plane that he used during the campaign. That was his personal jet that he was talking about. So anyway, that's my take on that. And that was the George news. And so that was my interpretation of some of the things that we're seeing come out of George news. So make of it what you will. See if you get any other revelation about that. Pay attention to his statements that he puts out. He's showing people. He's showing people a lot of what's happening right now. He's pointing out the flaws. It's sort of like he's showing people the features and benefits of the previous administration versus the one now. It's sort of like, in a way, it's sort of like a car salesman, right? He's like, okay, well, before you had the Rolls Royce and you had really cheap gas and you had that new car smell and everybody was happy and everybody was healthy and everybody was employed and we were building things and we had peace in the Middle East and we had all of these things. And then you went and traded it in for a jalopy. How's that feeling right now? How does it feel that you can't even afford to put gas in it and you had to call the tow truck 5 times already? You chose, okay? So that's what he's doing. He's showing the public what they think they have, right, versus what they had. And so most of us know we didn't choose it. The people who chose it are public enemy number one. And I want to really be clear about something here, is that a lot of people are still talking about this rhetoric. Can somebody remind Charles on YouTube that we're not using certain words in the chat, because it's getting us censored? So here's something I want to remind you. This is important, okay? That there are, I keep hearing people say that, we're on the verge of civil war, that if this happens, it's going to be civil war. And it's interesting because I've heard people tell me that they're talking to even Democrats who are saying that this is going to happen. I want to make it really clear that that's not happening. That the people who are driving this narrative, that the people that are driving this narrative are your real enemies. Your neighbor is not your enemy. The people in the next town over are not your enemy. the people who have different color skin from you, or who think differently about gender, or who think differently about politics, they're not your enemy. They have different thoughts and beliefs from you, but they're not the people that uh, that's not who we're fighting here. And so I want to be really, I want you to be mindful of this, because I hear people throwing around that term. And that is exactly the place and the misdirection and the lie that they want to push, is that we're on the brink of that. We are not on the brink of that. The people that are pushing that narrative are your enemy. Your neighbor down the street, who may have, handled things differently than you over the last year, um, that that person is not your enemy. They're misguided, but they're not your enemy. So just be very clear about that, because when everything is cleared up, and the truth comes out, and the revelation comes out, the last thing you want, the last thing that's going to happen is that, neighbor picking up arms against neighbor. So that's just important to understand. And so be extremely careful about batting around that rhetoric, because it's a big fat lie, and it's meant to deceive people, and it's meant to turn people into a direction that Real 45 would never, ever, ever endorse. Okay. Thank you to the people in the chat for helping us with these reminders about the specific wording. All right, now, this is what I wanted to tell you. Something interesting. So this is something interesting. A friend of mine has been dealing with, Charles, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that's okay. We're just all figuring this out, but we have noticed for sure that that when we use those words, I let it slip a few minutes ago. We've noticed when we use those words that the viewership gets suppressed a lot on these platforms. So we're just not even typing it. Okay. So anyway, what I was going to say is this: a friend of mine, please pray for her, our friend Donna. Her mother has been in the hospital on and off over the past several months with different things, and they're in Georgia, and her mother is 90. And so there's something going on that she told me about that was very interesting. She took her mom to the emergency room last week, and they were, I believe it was 30 hours. Her mom was in the emergency room for 30 hours. Yes, I said that, 30 hours. And thankfully, her mother was in one of those little bed areas where, she could sit in a plastic chair beside her mother, but they didn't have a room for her. And this is a hospital that has, I believe, a capacity, she estimates, well over 6,000 beds. Huge hospital, okay? Massive hospital. It's a teaching hospital. And she said that they finally got her mom into a bed, into a ward. And during that time, of course, she had lots of opportunity to have conversations with people. One of the conversations was with an orderly who was taking her mom up to the room, finally, after all of this transpired. And the orderly, when they were walking along, he started to pull up the mask, and then she said, "You don't have to do that on account of me." And he goes, "Good, because it's all nonsense," right? And it turns out the orderly was probably in his 20s, and she said he was absolutely, totally 100% red pilled, and he was telling her all this stuff. And then the whole time they were walking, it took forever. She said they must have walked a mile. But the whole time, like, he's telling her stuff that he knows, and he said, I just have to pretend that I don't know any of this, because everybody here acts like it's true. like the other stuff is true, that this is not nonsense, that it's not a big fat lie, that that we were packed to the gills last year during the event that was supposed to kill everybody. And so that was one thing that she heard from him. But then she had a chance to talk to a doctor. And one of the situations with my friend is that her mom is pretty sick. And part of the reason for that is that her mom hasn't been seen by an actual doctor in over a year. The doctor has done telemedicine, even though it's perfectly safe to go and see them in person. They won't do that. And so some of the things that she's been telling them about her mom, nobody's actually put a stethoscope to her mother or laid hands on her. And so so this is very interesting that that now her mom is is having some serious problems that could have been avoided. Okay. And so she had an opportunity to talk to one of the doctors who is a resident, so not very old, and it was very eye opening, very enlightening. And what this resident told her is that this doctor has been, or that this hospital has just been overrun, but that last year, he said last year it was so empty that they were furloughing everybody. He was furloughed, the nurses were furloughed, and nobody was coming to the hospital. Nobody was going to see their doctor. People were terrified to go to the hospital. And they were also told that they couldn't go because they wouldn't be accepted. They would be turned away. And I think this is very interesting because what he said is this. He said the things that we're seeing now. He said in one day recently they had 150 people come through the ER in 8 hours. And he said normally before this, post-pandemic reality, before the post-pandemic reality, he said that people would come in with minor things, like a hangnail. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying. He said every single case that comes into the ER now is a major medical issue, a major medical issue. And, he said that what would have been a small heart problem a year ago turned into a major heart problem because of the wait, because people didn't go to the doctor. What was a small kidney problem turned into a massive kidney problem, even kidney failure. Okay. And then and then he was saying that he basically said people are worse off now than if they had actually gotten the Rona. That's what he said. He said this is far worse. The aftermath of what they've done to people psychologically and of the way that they've actually kept them away from these facilities has created just a cascade of medical emergencies. And so and then at the time last year, okay, when they stopped everybody from coming in, he said the place was like a ghost town. And so I just thought that was really interesting. And then the other thing she told me, so I would be interested to hear what's happening around where you are. But she also said, I asked her, if they were asking if her mother had, if they were asking for her papers to prove that she was clean going in. I'm talking in code. And they said, no, they never even asked. And then I said, what about testing? Nope, never asked. She said nobody cared. She said it's over. And so it was very interesting. She said the experience that she's having there has just been really, really eye-opening. And especially talking to the doctor. And I asked her if a lot of these cases were side effects from the situation that people are taking part in right now. And she said that she didn't hear that specifically, but that she was going to ask him because she was going to, she was going to, or she's going to ask around because her mother's now in a rehab facility. Um, so Vicky said they can't catch up. My sister's best friend just had a surgery and it's worse on her recovery because they made her wait so long. Exactly. Yeah. And this happened. So many things got rescheduled. And so I just think it's very interesting. And then, one of the things that people don't realize is that a hospital is a for-profit enterprise. And it wouldn't be surprised. Um, um, it wouldn't be surprising to me if they were actually, if some of the sickness that's coming on people was intended to get the revenue back up at the hospitals, right? If the side effects of what they did was actually, part of the plan to get the revenues back up. So yeah, Stephanie's making a comment about overcrowding in New York. This is the exception though. This is a rare exception, Stephanie. Um, it really is. Where I was, I would say 98% of the country didn't happen. And this is, like I said, this hospital where my friend is, it's a massive hospital. And so uh okay, Lisa says your husband, a Vietnam vet, got a call from the VA offering him the thing and he said no, and they tried to get him to reconsider. Nope. Yeah, interesting because Health Ranger posted a comment on Telegram and said that Faker 46 is getting tremendous pressure, is being pressured to get the rate of compliance in the country up to 70%. Very interesting, and that they're going to be really cracking down on people who are considered to be spreading what they call propaganda against that choice, that which should be a personal choice for people. Yeah, they definitely were not treating those people correctly, Stephanie. Um, the treatments were killing them. So, you suppose they will pursue us all soon? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to pursue us. I mean, in my state, they put these creepy ads in the paper about how you can never see your best friend again if you don't, that doing that, making that decision is your ticket to seeing your best friend again, and that if you don't do that, you'll never hug or touch them again or be in proximity with them. It's just insane. So why are they pushing it so hard? That's a good question. And one of the reasons that I can think of is that it's a massive moneymaker. I get a feeling that pretty much everything they do has to do with money laundering. If you remember when the pipeline was seized, or they had the ransomware was put on the software a couple weeks back, and then the ransom was paid. My theory was that that was a money laundering operation, and I may be wrong about that, but I feel like when you look at these companies, again, think about how much money they lost in revenues. I imagine that there's a lot of quid pro quo going on with these facilities that are administering this thing. And that, of course, we know that the companies that make it are in billions, multi-billions of dollars of profit. So I'm thinking that there are kickbacks happening all over the place. That's my thinking. It always comes down to um, money and power. And the one thing that really disgusts me is that you have states like Ohio who are actually holding lotteries. They're bribing people to go do this. And the money that they're giving away is COVID relief money. Guess who's paying the bill? You, me, right? It's not money out of their state budget. Um, they're pushing it everywhere in Alaska too. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's just insane. And so, I don't know, and the funny thing is, when now I think that they're in a really interesting dilemma because now when I go in a store and I don't have that thing on my face, they don't know. They don't know where I stand unless I'm wearing my Real 45 hat or my sweatshirt that says "Let Us Worship" or my 1776 Liberty sweatshirt. That could be a giveaway. But if I'm just wearing regular shirt like I have on now and my Birkenstocks and I look like, a local person, um, then they don't know. They don't know. And so I think it's interesting because the ones who are walking around in a state that has no more mandate and they're still wearing that thing over their face, they're either already got it and they're just stupid, or they didn't get it and they're just super honest and they're following the rules, right? That's going to wear off pretty quickly. But but a lot of places where, even a week ago they still had the signs up, they're gone in my area, and I didn't think it would happen so soon. I took my dad in for a mani pedi today, and yes, he does get his nails done, and so I took him in, and this place in the past they would always insist that you put the thing on your face. And we walked right in today with nothing, and they were still wearing them, but they didn't say anything. We just sat down. And so so things are coming along, but some people are afraid to take it off. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. I told you, a friend of mine was telling me that her country club is having their big opening gala for the summer, and they're actually requiring people to show their papers, and then they sent out the invitation after they collected dues. So she was going to write to them and say, I wasn't aware when I paid my dues that we were going with full Nazism this summer. We'll see if she does it. I just thought it was really funny. Like, because I thought she was going to write a little bit more less aggressive letter, but she was just going to go straight for the jugular on that one. Um, yeah, I saw somebody at the gym yesterday working out, lifting heavy with a mask on. I was like, why? And this is a place where they don't even care. So, your daughter visited in Asheville, North Carolina, and pretended to be jabbed. I know somebody that put a Band-Aid on their arm to go to a luncheon because all of the friends in that circle they were just driving her crazy, trying to convince her to get the thing. And she just didn't want to deal with it anymore. She was so done. So she just put a Band-Aid on her arm. And nobody bothered her. Uh, um, Yeah, Diane, in North Carolina, they've replaced the sign saying that only those who have it can go without the mask. They've done that here some too. I'm like, what? Hey, do you want to see my Band-Aid? What? How do you know? I'm not going to tell you. Um, yeah, I know. Just show everybody your Band-Aid or just get the tattoo. That's what some people are doing. Just get, you know what? Does anybody have any of those temporary tattoos? Let's all just get the temporary tattoo and walk around and pretend. uh, I know. It's so funny. Okay, so I digress. Now, what else was I going to tell you? Oh, listen, I wanted to tell you something that's come up because I think that in the coming, I think that oh, somebody's ready to put the Facebook banner up just to be taken off the suppression list. Oh, that's interesting. If they ask for paperwork, telling me they left it at home. Here's the thing. If anybody says anything to me, especially about my dad, I just say, thanks. We're all set. He's all set. That's all I say. He's all set. All set. That can mean so many things. Okay. But I wanted to tell you about something. Somebody that I know is running for office and they had to fire their campaign manager and it got really ugly. And I wanted to tell you something because I think that this could come in useful. It's just one of those little life hacks that not a lot of people know about campaigns. And I think that people are going to start running for office. And so you may know somebody that's running for office. And when that happens, you get a campaign manager. And so uh, when that happens, you get a campaign manager. And so one of the things that I found when I was involved in campaigns and doing a lot of research on campaigns in 2018, that is this. That is and this is something a lot of people don't know. And so I want to tell you this because this may come in handy. I think it's going to be useful to somebody here. It may not today, maybe not tomorrow, but people are going to be running for office or thinking about it or know somebody who is. And so I want you to understand this. Campaign managers, from what I've seen, for the most part, are mercenary bottom feeders. I hate to say that, but they are. And so they're just opportunists. And what they do, I think Millie can attest to this because, we were doing a lot of research at that time, that they're they're really just they just go from gig to gig. And in a lot of cases, they really don't care if the candidate wins or loses. To them, it's just a job. And in some cases, they actually will withhold advertising or keep money back in the budget because a lot of times when they lose a campaign or win a campaign or whatever, they go on to another campaign. Or if they win, sometimes they stay on and start managing the campaign for the next election cycle. But a lot of times what happens is they'll have their pay structure will be based on certain contingencies. And so they actually can take more money away at the end of the game if they've spent less on certain things. And I know that's just crazy, but they really don't have a vested interest in getting the candidate to win. It's insane, but it's true. And I'm telling you this because again, people are going to start running for office. You're going to have people in your circle that are going to start running for office, and so it's essential that you do a deep dive and vet the campaign managers. Okay. One of the things that I think is very interesting, you've got to look at what campaigns they worked on. And if you look at the FEC filings, look at what vendors they use. And then go and look at the FEC filings for popular Democrat candidates or not so popular, and look at what vendors they use for those candidates. And in many cases, you will find that they're the same for Republicans or Democrats because they're all swimming in the same pond. And again, it's just a big game. It's all smoke and mirrors. They don't have they don't have any interest in getting the candidate a win. It's just a business to them. And so I wanted to tell you this just so that you would know, just because somebody needs to hear this and somebody needs to file that away for later and also just understand it. I just wanted to put that out there. Now, we're talking about a whole different kind of procedure that they're pushing on young women. They're pushing it on young men too. Yeah, they had a big article about it in our local paper. Okay, so does anybody have any comments or questions about what it is that I just threw out there? Everybody's sort of on the other topic. But again, somebody's going to come along and you're going to need that information that I just gave you. So let me just check my notes here and see if there's something else that I need. Hold on. Let me look. Oh, let me tell you the latest thing that's coming out of all these investigations. Do you guys want to hear about that, or do you want to keep talking about this other topic? It looks like we're on this other topic. Yeah, people should go and read the chat here in the YouTube. I'm not gonna bring this topic into the actual dialogue because it's a huge one that is a really bad hot button. Okay. All right. Investigations. You want to hear about that? Okay. Let me just tell you something that's coming along here. So there's a lot of momentum happening with all of these audits, okay? And one of the things that is happening, this is a really big deal. Let me see. Okay, well, let me see if I can find it. All right. This is something that came up yesterday, and this is really interesting that it said that when it came, do you remember how I think we mentioned last week that somebody had actually like backdated the tally of the votes? Does anybody remember hearing a story about that? How somebody had gone in? No, that's okay, Millie. I know it's an important topic that you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. I'm just not going to bring it up here. Okay, so but here's something that they've been doing. Okay, it says according to this report, to set the date, they backdated these tapes that come out of the machines that count the votes. So they're backdating and they're changing. They can go back in and they can actually change the numbers. That's called ballot stuffing. And apparently, these machines have this capability, and they're finding the situations where they're actually doing it. And so this is a whole nother can of worms. This is a whole nother can of worms that it isn't even doesn't even have anything to do with that specific company. It has to do with people on site in these places who are managing these machines and who are going in and making these changes. And another word for it is fraud. So yeah, this is a big deal. So keep an eye on this. Yeah, ballot stuffing is putting ballots in after the fact. So is that here in Arizona? I think this is one that came up. I think it was from New Hampshire, the specific example that came up on Brian Cates on his Telegram. I think it's New Hampshire. And then he says, how many elections has this cheating technique been used without anyone on the outside seeing any evidence it happened? And this is what they said. Someone went in, reopened the election, then closed it and backdated it. What this proves in theory is ballot stuffing, meaning they can run through ballots after the election, close it down, and backdate it. Okay? So remember how they just shut everything down and they stopped counting? Well, even if, for example, the rules say that you have to stop counting by X date, what they're saying is that technically, if somebody is manipulating the counter in this way, it's like changing your speedometer in your car, right? But if they're manipulating the counter in this way, that it doesn't look, technically they haven't gone past the date for counting. But if they have a window in which they can report, then they can just they can throw ballots in for 2-3 days afterward, and then they go in and they backdate the ticker, and so it looks like all those ballots came in by the deadline. That's a big problem. So that's something that that they figured out. All right. And so then Brian Cates says, how many election races in how many states for how many years have the people handling these machines done this neat trick of stuffing ballots after the legal deadline and then backdating it to hide what they did? And the U.S. code actually says that ballot stuffing after the legal deadline and backdating is it's a felony. Now, the problem with that is that the Just Us department doesn't seem to care about those things. Okay. But just very interesting. So just keep your eyes, let's just keep your eyes on what's happening. These things that are happening are extremely important. And something that Real 45 said that was very interesting in an interview, I think it was with Wayne Allen Root. He said, I only need 2 states. And I think that's interesting because he needs more than that to tip the scale over 270. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. Unless one of those states is California, right? So it's interesting. Okay, now listen. Monday's a holiday. I may come on. It depends on what ends up happening that day. It depends on the weather, et cetera, et cetera. But I will definitely be on Wednesday, June 2nd, and then Thursday of next week. So I know that's a long time to wait. I think you can do it. But I will be back. So make sure you're following my channel. I'm Mary Grace. This is Mary Grace Media, and this is Real Talk with Mary Grace. And then also, like I said, don't miss out on the superfood sales that we're having this weekend. We're having a lot of buy one, get one offers. And so please write to me, info@marygracemedia.com, and get a promo code so that you can save over $100 off of your full superfoods reset. I got to tell you, people are having just some amazing results. I told you that somebody that I know recently was telling me that she lost 15 pounds, and she wasn't even using the superfoods specifically to lose weight. She was just trying to get back some energy and deal with some of the health issues that she was having. Oh, you bought your superfoods today? Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of buy 3 get 1 free for sure. And one of those buy 3 get 1s is the super aminos. That's a great deal. So definitely get in on that. And when it comes to stocking up, this is a good time to stock up. Especially the super aminos are the best protein source you can get. You even build muscle in a resting state. It's amazing, and it doesn't stress your organs. So think about that if you're looking for a good source of protein for prepping and putting food away. Yeah. I don't know how I lived without superfoods. I really don't. And the shakes are amazing, fantastic. It's all good. Yeah. Okay, let me see. Somebody said something. Enjoy the heck out of your long weekend. I will. You guys enjoy your weekend too. So I will be checking the email though. I'm not going to be camping or anything like that. So it's info@marygracemedia.com. Get your voucher. Does it help with bone density? Maryland, that's a good question. Well, our greens, one of the best things you can do for bone density is greens. So I would say the whole transformation pack is going to help you with that. Because that's where the one of the best sources of calcium is greens. So I would say, yeah, I would get the transformation pack, and I would probably add the Kamut. That's the wheatgrass blend that I absolutely love. The apothecaries help my joint pain to the point where I can take my shirt off without hurting now. See, that's a great testimony, isn't it? A lot of people tell me when they get on this protocol that their joint pain goes away, and that in some cases they didn't even know they were in so much pain until they started on the superfoods and they started alkalizing their system and reducing inflammation. That's one of the big things that it does. And so, I would say that it's definitely not going to hurt your bone density. That's for sure. But it's amazing. I love it. Okay. info@marygracemedia.com. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and please take time to, pray for the families who have lost loved ones in the military and service to our country. That's what Memorial Day is. It's not just a time for sales. Um, uh, let's see. Will the code be from April be applicable today? Snow Wench, send me an email because I want to make sure that I gave you the right code. Just to make sure, okay? Especially if you never placed an order before, all right? And those of you who are ordering regularly, make sure that you're putting a smart order on so that you're getting rewards points and getting free product. Don't forget that. All right. Info@marygracemedia.com. Are superfoods good for teeth and skin? Yeah, they're pretty much good for everything. Look at my skin. Look at my skin, Charles. Superfoods. Yeah. Yep. Okay. I will see you guys. Should you just email me that question above? I just answered it. Yeah. It's just, it's your body is getting good nutrients. And so it's food, but it's the best food on the planet. um, so that's the difference. Okay. Yeah. So my skin is an advertisement alone. I think so. I mean, I think it's, yeah, one of my friends told me, how like you get like adult acne. She said she just doesn't get that anymore because, her body's so balanced out with superfoods. So that's great. Awesome in looks today. Thank you. Okay. I'll see you guys next week. And I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and that whatever you're doing, it's just a blessed and beautiful time. Right. And take care, everybody. Thanks for a great chat today and a great show.